Welcome back to another episode of Parenting Shrink Wrapped. Sam here with Melissa, as always. And our special guest on today's episode is Jessica Roffe. She is a career coach, basically, but that's far from all she is. She has spent over 12 years helping students and young adults turn uncertainty into career confidence, which I think is a magical trick unto itself, given the state of the world and just the uncertainty that 20-somethings in this environment that they're growing up in are all dealing with. And she, speaking of 20-somethings, she has worked with thousands of students, both as a career coach, but also as the associate director of an undergraduate honors program at the University of Maryland. She's the founder of Career Beginnings. That's the name of her business. And that's her role as a career coach, where she supports students and young professionals through personalized coaching and workshops to focus on career readiness and helping them attain internships, job searches, polish resumes, get their LinkedIn profiles up and running, work on networking, interviewing, essentially all the career stuff that they need to do. But also she's got a day job for full time, as I said, at the University of Maryland, at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. And there she advises and teaches students and has earned a Distinguished Teaching Award for Instructional Excellence. She's a certified career service provider through the National Career Development Association, holds a master's degree in higher and post-secondary education from Columbia's Teachers College. Jessica Roffe is a wealth of information, a highly qualified guest, and we're so looking forward to this conversation because in addition to all those qualifications, she's also just warm and sensible. And when it comes to this task of finding a job, I don't know. I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old. So they're just at the very beginning of this period. And I'd say it feels to me as their parent that they are both facing a frenzied environment. And that warm and sensible and approachable just demeanor that you bring to this work, Jessica, I think that alone is grounding. Combined with your expertise, I know we're in for a great conversation today. Welcome to Parenting Shrink Wrapped.
Thank you, Sam. What a warm introduction. I appreciate it.
So, I think to add on to what Sam just said, being a parent doesn't stop when your kid, flies the nest and heads off to college or wants to start a job just because they turn 18. You remain a parent. And this is a really tough space as a parent because what the economy and job market may have looked like when we were at that age, entering that space, and now, like Sam, having young adult children who are launching into the space, it looks so different, Jessica, to what it was. The world's totally different. So what kind of advice and brought you into this kind of line of work, and what were you noticing in your own life and career that kind of led you down this path?
Yeah, so many things. It started with my own career journey, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in college. I was a psychology major, and I picked that because I liked my AP psychology class, which is why sometimes students choose their major. And I knew I wanted to help people, but I wasn't exactly sure how. And I was very involved in trying to figure that out, though. So I did join a lot of clubs on campus, research labs. I was really proactive in getting internships every summer. And still none of it was like, this is what I need to do. This is fulfilling all my passions. Senior year, I kind of had this panic, like I'm applying to grad school, but I just feel like it's not really what I should be going for. But that was kind of the logical next step for a psychology student. And then I really got to know my psychology advisors. I was working in the undergrad department at the front desk, and they had invited me to speak at an admitted student day. And I had so much fun just talking to parents about it's such a big time in their life, choosing what college their child's going to go to. And afterwards, like my cheeks hurt. I was like, oh, this was so fun. Time was kind of going by and I wasn't even realizing. And that's when you know, okay, you're in flow. Like these are things that are really interesting to you. So I then learned that my psychology advisor had his master's in student affairs. I didn't know that was a thing. And so I started researching that and it was like, oh, I can really be a support to college students. And then it all made sense. I was like, oh, I have done this throughout my college experience and really enjoyed it. Like I helped students choose what sorority to be in and even working at the front desk, like all of those experiences I really liked. I always wanted to be an orientation advisor, but I never even went for it because I thought I had to do my psychology research. Well, I wish I did. Looking back, maybe I would have discovered this earlier. But anyway, I pivoted. I went to grad school for higher education and student affairs, and it just really felt like the right fit. Like this was the population I wanted to help. People just as confused like I was in college. It was like so immediate that I could see the impact I could make. And ever since then, I've been working at the University of Maryland. So over the years, I have really gotten to know the students in the honors program I work for because they're in it from their freshman to their senior year. And a lot of them would come to me over the Career Center because they could come to my office whenever they wanted. And they would just rant about their stress. And I'm so nervous to go to the career fair and I have an interview coming up. Can you help me? And I just picked up on these skills and was really enjoying the career development aspect of my job most of all. And so during COVID, I became certified as a career services provider. It was a 6-month online course where I worked one-on-one with a coach. And then in 2024, I decided to launch my business, Career Beginnings, because I had just heard from other like college admissions professionals, they were getting questions about their career services. I could tell that a lot of career coaches were focused on older populations, but not so much the young, early career professionals. So I figured like the 18 to 25-year-old range would be good for me to focus on. And I've been doing some things with high schoolers too now because it really starts early, some of these things. So I know we'll get into that.
It does. And so, like, you talk about the uncertainty that you felt and the almost happenstance way that you kept getting drawn to these experiences in your life, and it wasn't until you really paid attention to the pattern that they had together, like, oh, I like to help people on their own path, essentially. Like my path is to help people on their path,
Yes.
and when you figured out how you're going to do that, it's fun how things fall into place like that. But student affairs, that's who at 6 years old when they're like grader is like saying, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, what 6-year-old's like, I'd like to be in, I'm going to be in student affairs, right? Or
Yes.
or I'm gonna be a supply chain management specialist. Like these are like there are careers that exist that like kids don't know about, and unless you have some exposure to, you have to know something exists before you can consider it, right?
Yes, I love that.
So
And go ahead.
no, you finish. I'll ask my question in a
Well,
second.
I mean, putting myself in situations to learn about new careers, like actually talking to my psychology advisor and learning about his background. Oh, that was super eye-opening. Volunteering to go to their admitted student day. Like you have to be experiencing things, talking to people, networking to expose yourself to things that you don't know about. So, and we'll get into
That
that.
was one of my question, actually. That you began to answer my question, which was, what are things that parents can be thinking about, or kids should be thinking about, to begin their career readiness, right? They don't need to be experts, but like what you just named several right there. But are there other things that are foundational so that when people get to be my kids' age, 19 and 21 or beyond, maybe it feels a little less frenzied?
Yeah, I like the cycle of first, you need to really understand yourself. What are your unique values, interests, passions, strengths? And that's not easy. It's a process. Um, so I can go more into that. And then you can start exploring options. Okay, you know what you're kind of good at. Okay, how does that fit into the workplace? So that's through networking, talking to people, exploring resources, joining clubs, getting involved in activities, internships, and then you can be more confident and stronger in taking action, applying to things that are really a good fit for you. So in the understand yourself phase, there are a lot of online quizzes you could take. I like Career One Stop. I like ONET. These are both websites you can go to, and their information on the sites are through the U.S. Department of Labor. So you can do a quiz about like what are your top interests, and then it will connect you to careers that are a good fit for you based on those.
And are they free?
Yeah, both of those are free. A
Same
lot of them,
thing. So ONET, ONET.
ONET, yeah.
Oh,
O, and then it's a star, and then net.
and
And then Career One Stop.
okay.
So the Career One Stop one has more than one quiz. It has, I believe, a values quiz, and then an interest quiz, and then maybe like a skills or strengths quiz.
Oh my gosh, I
So,
can hear parents of teenagers being like scribbling this down. They're like stopping at a red light right now. They're writing down ONET and Career
Put
One
it in the
Stop.
show notes. Don't crash.
They're putting
okay, I'll put in
receipt
the
in
show.
there, and then they're gonna go home and they're like, honey, get off of Xbox. I have a website for you. Like it's just gonna.
It's
There's
amazing.
an art to making sure this happens, right? Like,
So, Sam, I was actually thinking what would be a funny experiment is if the parents who have established careers do the career test also with their kid, and what careers come up for the parent too. Make it fun.
as
Do
a
it
high school
together.
faculty member, I did that because I worked in high school, and over again, it was recommended that I should be an audiologist. Over like this 3 or 4 times I've done this. Audiologist every time.
Well, they're adjacent. I mean, you're helping people.
Yeah,
But it should give you adjacent ideas,
yeah.
many different ideas.
Counselor
Hopefully,
and teacher and creator and business, like the things that I am were also on there, but audiologist was like shockingly high next to some of
But
these other things.
maybe it would be fun to do it with your teen.
Yes, yes. Okay, so
yeah.
I per usual went down a rabbit hole and hijacked that is like it's
No, I
rewind.
love that. I love the idea of comparing. That's great. I mean, the cool thing about Career One Stop too is it has these maybe 1.5, 2 minute videos to learn about the jobs that you might not really understand what it is. And that's super quick, easy to comprehend. And it also will tell you, like, here's the education you would need for this role. Here's the expected salary. Is this type of job on the rise, or is it really dying out? So that could give you some good ideas. The other thing that's a free test is the High Five Strengths Test. That's free. It's similar to Clifton Strengths, if any of you have taken that. And that will give you what are your top 5 natural strengths. That doesn't mean you don't have other ones, but these are naturally what you're innately good at. And so maybe you should focus on those and improving those rather than things that might be your weak points. I love that philosophy that was started by the founder of Clifton Strengths. It's like, if you can really be an expert and talented in your strengths, then that's what you should focus on.
It's way easier to build on your strengths than it is to build on your weaknesses. So the same amount of effort, right, put forth towards a strength grows you exponentially, whereas an effort put towards a weakness grows linearly. Like you get more bang for your buck when you operate from your strengths.
Definitely. So say you take all these quizzes and then you also decide, oh, I'm going to use ChatGPT or an AI platform to help me out. Put in like, here are my top 5 strengths, here are my 3 interests. I think I might like to help people. What could I do? What types of careers would be a good fit for me? And then you have a starting point for the exploring options phase. So you can start talking to people, whether it's maybe your family friends, or a friend of somebody you know, or a parent of somebody you know. It's ask them about their career. A lot of times teenagers might be around a lot of adults and never get into that type of conversation, right? Even their own parents, maybe they didn't ever ask them really their career path and how they got there, or their aunts or uncles. So they can always start with someone they know. But I even recommend starting on LinkedIn as a high school student. And there's a huge opportunity to network with people who go to your high school, alumni from your high school. If you go to, or your college, depending on what year, but if you go to your high school or college's page on LinkedIn, there's a tab that says alumni. So you can see all of the different people that you could potentially message, try to set up a conversation with to learn about what they're doing now, and then getting involved. So if you think you might like something, is there a club that you could join to explore that? Is there an activity or an internship or someone you could shadow for a day? And don't be shy. Reach out to people. People remember what it was like to be confused.
I just had a call with someone 2 days ago, actually. Like a former student of mine, and I'm no longer at the school, reached out, said, I'm a junior at this college, I'm studying psychology, and I'm interested to know, like, kind of what my next steps should be professionally, and I'm trying to find internships in the area where we live. Can I thought I'd reach out to you. There was no like request from me. It was just like, here's the, and of course I was like, I'm on it. And I put a thing
And she
out
did. I
I
know
put
she
a
did.
thing out, on behalf of this kid on a listserv I belonged to. Several people responded. I called him, set up a call. I was like, here, I've got a couple leads for you. And then we talked about graduate school, and I was happy to help. Happy to help. And
It's
all
such
he did
a
was send me a quick email. I was happy to help.
good on that student, and it's such a shock to students. I used to teach a 1 credit class called Choosing Your Major and Career, and they had to do an informational interview in that class where they reached out to someone and learned about their career path. And most of them took away, like, I was so surprised how willing people were to meet with me. Like, they're just intimidated at the idea of it. But like I said, people understand what you're going through and they want to help. And they also want to help the new generation, like, enter their career and enter their field. So you're not going to get 100% response rate. Go in knowing that. But there will be some people that will make the time for you and want to give back.
Jessica, because you mentioned AI, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here because I've been getting this frequently in my clinical practice, is a lot of teenagers, high schoolers, young adults in college concerns about AI in the workforce and like taking over jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And how you were kind of counseling young adults in that realm, because AI is becoming a part of every career in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, what I've found is it's really not, it's taking away some entry level jobs, but it's really being used to augment jobs. And so if you can be the type of student that knows what you're doing with AI, that is a huge advantage to you. And you should be figuring out how you can leverage that to be a part of your brand and what you can bring to employers. And then in terms of actually using it for career documents, I encourage some use of it, but you have to have an authentic brand to you. So you don't want AI writing your resume and your cover letters. There's definitely no way, because if everyone's doing that, they're going to get the same cover letter from every
I,
person.
I'm trying not to laugh because I literally got a an email that was someone who was like trying to be interested, and I literally read it and I went, AI wrote this. This is awful. And I basically wrote back, no, thank you.
Right. And
It
that
was
has,
a turn off as like someone who owns a business, to be
and they
honest
need
with
to
you.
hear that. They need to know, like, people do not, people, it's so obvious, especially
Yeah.
with the M dashes. Like, take those out. Just change it
Take
to a
those out.
comma.
Delete those double dashes, baby.
Yes. So, I mean, it can help you with small things like trying to prompt what fields you should look into, right? But that's not something you're submitting to a company. So, you need your resume to be specific to you, show your unique brand. If you want it to give you some ideas, maybe like you have a bullet, but you think you can quantify and add some numbers to the bullet. Get asked for that, like, and not to make up the numbers, but what are some ways I could quantify this bullet? Oh, and it will say like, oh, you can talk about how many people you worked with, how many hours you worked, and it will just give you ideas to make your bullet stronger, but it won't write it for you because you don't, then it probably won't be authentic. It might make up some lies. And same with cover letters. Like, so many people are not taking the time to actually customize the cover letter. So when you do, you will stand out. But it is true that companies are getting way more applications for every job now because of AI. And so you have to really get creative in your job search. Just cold applying and waiting is not the way anymore to get a response, because they have to sift through so many applications. So if you can network, talk to people, stand out in that way, and like, someone might do something like you did, Sam, like you talk to them, they want to put something out on a listserv for you. They want to help you out. You're not going in asking for a job, but if they like you and they want to help, they might want to help you out. So you never know what could come from those conversations.
Here's a dynamic that I see pretty frequently because I work with teens and young adults in my therapy practice, and I work with parents in my coaching practice, and I see it from both sides, and I see the negative effects it has. And this is when a parent becomes very obsessed about career readiness and career appropriateness for their child before their child is ready to hear those messages. And even though it's an appropriate time for their kid to be thinking about it, like, rare do I hear a parent of a 10-year-old being like, well, what can you use that for professionally? I'm not signing you up for rec soccer. Like, that's not what I hear. But by the time they get to high school, their parents are saying things like, well, maybe you should try the robotics club. That looks good on a resume. Or maybe you should maybe you should go for the president of the community service club because that looks good on a resume. And the kid's like, um, I am still trying to figure out where to eat lunch so I feel comfortable in the building, right? Like I can't be the president of the community service club because I don't know how to even talk to people yet. So there's this dichotomy or paradox, I think, that happens when, like, the parent is not wrong to be thinking ahead like this, and the kid is not wrong to be thinking about the present needs that they have as a teenager because they're not ready. They're like, I don't have a job. I don't need to, that's like 4 years from now, or 8 if you're a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
How to remedy that? Like, or, like what that's, I just do that all the time.
Yeah, I think more encouraging curiosity rather than like you need to do this for your resume.
Okay.
So, is there any club you might want to get involved in? Doesn't mean you need to be president right away, right? Also, exploring different clubs, then deciding which one is best for them that actually interests them, that they maybe do want to take on a leadership role because they actually want to themselves, not because their parents told them to. I think encouraging more of that, like get involved in some things that you think you might like and then narrow it down and definitely start big and then like get involved more deeply in the things that are really passionate and curious, that you're really passionate and curious about.
Which have you seen pays dividends? And I recognize there's 2 ways to answer this question. There's like pays dividends in terms of measurable outcomes such as college admissions or job placement. But I'm also really asking about like personal wellness and satisfaction with the job process, which pays more dividends, to be involved in more things and a wider variety, or more deeply in 1 or 2 things, because
Definitely more deeply in 1 or 2 things. Sorry to cut you off. But.
Yeah, like you knew the answer before. So, and is that the case for personal fulfillment or for career and college readiness, or both?
I think both, because if you're just involved in things to be a member and not really go in depth, like what are you really taking away from that? You're not gaining any leadership skills. You're not really gaining any communication skills. You're not gaining any teamwork skills. These are the things that employers want. These are the soft skills and the career competencies they're looking for. But also they're going to allow you to develop as a person. I mean, if you're just putting things on your resume because you want to show that you're involved, like nobody cares about that. They want to know that you've gained the skills through your experiences, not just that you attended a meeting. Like when I see resumes and they're like attended meetings, I'm like, okay, anyone can do that. Like what are you actually showing the value that you're going to bring to an employer? So if it's more that you helped a club start and it gained 50 members in the first year, whoa, you're super proactive. You're good at getting people to join your organization. I want you to be a part of my company as well. That's way more impressive.
I remember in college, or actually shortly after college, because I became a teacher, right? And my starting salary was $22,500. I was not, like I had to track, like, oh, I spent money on a pack of gum this month, like everything, right? And I remember looking at the alumni notes in the college magazine where I went to school. It was a small school, so like I knew most of these people personally, or I knew of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at this one, starting a small democratic nation. Like, okay, I coach lacrosse, like, and I remember that feeling of, I don't know, just like, I always felt man down on the comparison level. And I feel like sometimes parents feel like that about their children when their kids are like totally fine and not starting a club that has 50 members or a small democratic nation after college, just like I feel like sometimes parents think like you need to be doing more, and the career readiness trickles down into college readiness, trickles down into high pressure high school experience, trickles like it all is making like this preparation phase of raising kids, I don't know, helping us not enjoy the moment. So I love what you said about like just encourage curiosity. That can be a value that we all live by in our households, period.
And I think when a kid is passionate about something and then goes on an interview and gets asked about it, the person gets an authentic, genuine response. And that's what then draws them into that individual. And it's like, oh, that's what they're going to remember. They remember the kid who, you know, it may not even have something to do with the career, but it's like, oh, they showed leadership because they, you know, got 50 people to go do the polar bear plunge. Like, who knows what it is? It doesn't matter, but it speaks to personality characteristics, and it's not even always about what the club or the activity is.
I was talking to a neighbor whose job for his company was interviewing on college campuses, and so he interviewed and he interviewed a person, a young man who he asked like, tell us about like some adversity you faced, and come out. And this kid's adversity story was he was on the dive team in high school, which required Speedos. And and his adversity was having to withstand the hassling from his peers for the dive team uniform because he really liked diving. And but like the way this kid told and he was into it. Like this was a thing he really liked. And he told this story with like it was memorable enough that my neighbor told the story to us, sitting around like a bonfire actually one night. And then we were like, so is he going to get the job? And he's like, oh yeah, we're totally making this guy an offer, because he was charismatic and like he was qualified, but like he had the chutzpah to tell a story that was truly about him, and it did reflect something he was passionate about, and it was funny. Like
genuine too. It just needs to be genuine. You need to make a relational connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And that's going to stand out at a career fair too, in one of these networking calls. So you have to be reflecting on these kinds of things. Like that Speedo story clearly meant something to him. And that's going to stand out. Like people want to hire people that they want to work with. So if you need to be able to show that in an interview and not just give them the answers you think they want to hear. So I encourage students to always think about the STAR technique. If you haven't heard of that, that's like an interview prep method. Stands for situation, task, action, result. And they have to hit on all parts of that. Tell a story, like tell a real story about a time when you showed your teamwork skills or you showed your leadership abilities, and hit on that result. A lot of them will forget that part because that's what they want to hear. How are you going to be impactful at their company? What impact did you make in this story?
So wait, situation. So that's the setting. You're like, here's the situation. Here was my task because of the situation. Here's what I did. That's the action. And here are the results.
Yes.
I love that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So it's a pretty common interview prep method for especially college students for behavioral interviews. But definitely, like if you can come up with it, I usually start a Google Doc for my clients where they have to literally write STAR and like spell out their stories and think about, for the job or internship they're applying to, what is it saying are the skills they're looking for? And then what types of questions might they ask you because of that? Oh, they want someone who's good on a team. They're probably going to ask you to tell a story about a time you worked in a team. So what's a STAR method story you can tell for that? Like try to think in their shoes. And that's another way AI can be helpful. Here's a job description. What are the top 5 skills they're looking for? And what questions might they be asking awesome. Candidates.
I know we did that with my son. Yeah, those are awesome. So, Jessica, where can people find you?
Took the words out of my mouth.
My website is www.career/beginnings.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I post a weekly career tip at least once a week. So please follow Jessica Roffe on LinkedIn, but then also Career Beginnings has a page on LinkedIn and also on Facebook.
Is it career/ or career - beginnings?
Dash.
Career - beginnings. Okay.
So Jessica, thank you so much for all of the awesome practical advice today for all of our parents and their young adult children who are prepping and entering the workforce and are the next generation of the workforce. So can't thank you enough for being here with us on Parenting Shrink Wrapped. And to all of our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode. We love you. We love your kids. Thank you for raising the next generation of world changers.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrink Wrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride.